Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest episode of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. The Maxon Brothers here with you. I'm Nate. That's Aaron.
Hello.
And of course, this week, as we have been doing for the past 2 or 3 weeks, we are going to continue our journey through the PWI 500 from 1995. And as we record today, sad to see or sad to hear, Quincy Jones passed away at the age of 91. Quincy Jones is responsible for a lot of things you don't even realize that he's responsible for that you love. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
Talented motherfucker, lived a long life, lived through, he lived through Sinatra, Michael Jackson, up until the modern times. So, like I said, rest in peace, Quincy. Thank you for being such an influential person in the American music scene over the years. Because, like I said,
sorry, I know you're not as big of a fan of it as I am, but I was always a fan of the Fresh Prince, and he was the coordinator and guy that made that happen. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yep. True American, to me, a true American icon. So, like I said, rest in peace. That being said, we'll go back now to 1995, the PWI 500. These episodes are great. Don't need a big intro. Don't need to give any reason for why we're doing it. Just jump into it. Talk about that wrestling from 1995 or whatever year we're talking about for 90 minutes. We've had some great ones. We've had some fun with this one. We've had some racist gimmicks, all kind of shit. But last week we left off at 321 with the Iron Sheik. So this week we move on to 320, the Cuban Assassin. 6'1", 246, 16 years pro, competing in Puerto Rico, Florida, and Texas Independence, among other places. Also known as Top Gun Assassin. Trains wrestlers in his spare time. Teamed with Ricky Santana in a WWF tryout. In the late 80s, early 90s, when I was a younger wrestling fan, Fidel Sierra, the Cuban Assassin, was one of my favorite jobbers.
Yeah, and if I remember right, he got in an argument or a fight with somebody, and that's why it didn't work out. Because Brett liked the guy, so Brett got him like a tryout, and it didn't work out. I don't remember who Brett said he got in the altercation with, but it's like first day in, you're fighting. It's like, God damn it,
gotta go.
Yeah, like but he did.
Like Vince said to the Rockers, "Nice boots. They're made for walking, you know."
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Come on in.
You're fired.
But yeah, I mean, he was obviously a good hand, like a great hand in the ring, and I don't think he was ever like the hugest star here, but over in Puerto Rico and other places, he was a big star. Here, he was a good hand, and I remember him jobbing on WCW and everything like that.
I was just about to say, and I know we've said it before on the show. For those of you that don't know, though, when Aaron and I were kids, us and our friends called the enhancement talent nobodies. That's just what we called them, you know.
Yeah.
Rick Rude's wrestling a nobody on Superstars. Yeah. And nobody's Barry fucking Horowitz, but we're fucking kids. But anyway, I do have to say something. Even though most of my childhood and teenage years, and even into my 20s, Aaron knows I'd liked WCW, but I was always more of a WWF guy, right? But I will say this: back then, when I was younger, I thought WCW had the better nobodies.
They did.
Cuban Assassin, the Gambler, fucking Cougar
They had the
J.
They had the better nobodies because they had, like, for one, they had more shows, you know, and they had that roster, that crew of guys that were just that Atlanta, Macon, Georgia crew of guys, and they, you know.
Yeah.
And WCW is funny too because they might have a match where a nobody fights a cheaper nobody.
Yeah, the Cuban Assassin versus Cougar J.
Yeah, and Cuban Assassin beats him. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was on like WCW Pro or whatever. Like nobody's watching this shit, but they just had so many shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
WCW's collection of jobbers was much better than WWF's.
I agree. 319. Moondog Spike, 6'2", 344, 6 years pro, still wins despite a total lack of technical ability. Has held tag team titles with fellow Moondog Cujo. Very enthusiastic, loves a good fight.
Oh, the fake Moondog. Whatevs.
318.
Other than the original ones, I don't want anything to do with a Moondog.
Yeah, same. 318. Chuck the Kosher Killer. I didn't make that up. It's right here in front of me. 318 is Chuck the Kosher Killer, 6'4", 266, 12 years pro. This wild man has held the AIWF title twice. Originally hails from the Gaza Strip. Remains a contender for the AIWF heavyweight and U.S. titles.
So is he a Jewish guy that's like calling himself a killer, or is he saying that he's killing Jewish people?
I don't know. Either way, it's suspect.
I don't know if the other way I don't like it. The other way, it's like you could have thought of something better. I don't know. I don't like the name.
Just stupid. Yeah, it's a very stupid name. Like,
Does it say where he wrestles?
Even if you want to, the AIWF, wherever that is.
No. I was trying to figure out if it said like a region.
But even if you're going to be Chuck the Kosher Killer, you should be Chuck apostrophe the Kosher Killer apostrophe and then some kind of a last name. Because Chuck the Kosher Killer is just stupid.
Yeah, Chuck.
It's all stupid, but. Number 317 is Wayne Bloom, 6'4", 266, 7 years pro, also known as Bo Beverly. Briefly competed in the WWF. I wouldn't say briefly. Now wrestles almost exclusively in Japan, teamed with Mike Enos to win the AWA Tag Team Championship in 1989. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, they were there for what, like 2.5, 3 years?
They came in late 91, and they were there until almost 94. Almost. They made it almost all the way through 93. I guess I like
that team.
Oh, me too. Fantastic tag team. No matter what incarnation they were. Because it's funny because they gave them the Beverly Brothers gimmick, but they didn't change it all. Like, it was almost funny. It was almost like they rejected because they tried to give them the gimmick of being like the cocky rich brothers, but it never stuck. Like, they just were badass guys in purple tights.
Yeah, like the promos they'd act like it or whatever, but when the bell rung, they were still Wayne Bloom and Mike Enos, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like what we were saying about Teddy DiBiase. You know, he was the $1 million man, but when the bell rang, he was Ted DiBiase. Yeah. You know, and I've also read multiple people saying that you don't know looking at the guy, but like Wayne Bloom was like freaky strong. It was like one of those like strongest dudes in the locker room.
Mm-hmm. And a hell of a worker.
Yep.
Speaking of good workers, 316 is George South, 6'2", 234, 13 years pro. Gorgeous George is once again in the PWF, where he is feuding with longtime rival Italian Stallion. Still one of the most feared rule breakers in the PWF. Extremely active in charitable causes and is very religious. Was pinned by midget Farmer Pete in August. Farmer Pete.
I don't know. I'd want every single George South Italian Stallion match to end in like a double count out or a double disqualification. Like they can't even beat each other. I know that wasn't the point in that company, but I just think that would be funny. And George South, he was like, you know, good hand. And it's like one of my biggest regrets ever was when he was at a signing, and I didn't get his autograph because he had the greatest picture. He had the greatest 8x10 ever, and he left like before. When I realized what he was doing, we were already making rounds, and he left before I could get back to it. But you don't even see his face. You just see him getting clotheslined by the Ultimate Warrior, and it just says George South.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I was like, God damn, I missed the opportunity.
Number
I like
three.
the guys that don't. I like the guys, especially now, that don't have a. How do I want to say it? Like
Delusions of grandeur.
yeah, he knew what he was. So,
Yep. And you know what? Probably made a good, decent living doing it. So
yeah. Like he said in Flair's book, he should have sold advertising on the bottom of his boots. He probably would have made more money than he did in the wrestling business. And
number
when
three.
and that one night when um pizza guy, what's his name?
Jim Herd.
Jim Hurd, I guess, and a couple other people pissed him off. Flair watching in the locker room looking at George South. Is like, "You're Ricky Steamboat tonight,
You're Ricky
motherfucker."
Steamboat tonight.
Yeah. So anyway, I like that guy.
If you never
Funny.
seen that match, folks, look it up. It's a good ass match. Anyway, 315 is Mad Maxine. 5'9", 190, 1-year pro, has yet to be pinned since her debut in Pro Wrestling Federation a year ago, has defeated virtually every male in PWF, and is currently ranked in the PWF Top 10, claims to be the world's sexiest woman, wears face paint to enhance her frightening appearance, and manages the Russian assassin. I remember this lady being in the magazines, wrestling the guys before anybody else did it, really. I mean,
was she a tall lady with a big mohawk and all that?
yeah, she started. I think so. Yes.
Is she the one that was like a journalist too, or something?
I
Or is that
think
somebody else?
That I think that matches up. I think you're right.
Yeah, I remember that lady. She wasn't the sexiest lady in wrestling, unless you're into that kind of thing. I mean, if that's what you like, that's what you're into. But
Yeah, if your type is Stella Mae French,
yeah, it's like I don't know if I'm gonna get pegged in this situation. It's like if that's what you're looking for, go for it.
number
I
314.
don't want to disparage and say Mad Maxine pegs people. I think Mad Maxine pegs people. Sorry.
Number 314 is Ron Garvin, 6'2", 231,
Yeah.
30 years pro, beat Ric Flair for the NWA World Title in 1987. Hands of Stone is still a fixture on the independent circuit, though he's nowhere near as effective as he used to be. Excellent punching power. And as everybody knows, Ron Garvin is a guy that I changed my tune on as I went back.
It only took you 42 years to realize
as I went back and watched more of the ICW stuff and some of his stuff from up in Canada back in the day. I still don't like fucking trucker hat Ron Garvin. I still don't like WWF Ron Garvin. But Ron Garvin, before I was aware of him, was good.
Yeah, I think he was also. I'll give you the WWF thing because he did change his style a little bit there. But even when he was trucker hat and everything, he was still Ron Garvin in the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I still enjoyed that, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that style of wrestling.
That's what I was gonna say. You're
stocky
also
wrestler who likes to chop and yeah.
And you're also more of a, and again, I always say more of, like, it's not like I don't like it, but you're also more of a fan of JCP than I am too.
Yeah. Two guys and they're just kicking the shit out of each other, and that's what Ron Garvin would do, man. Chopping meat.
The only wrestler got 2 left feet.
I did like that angle. Just fucking with him as a ref and everything. I mean, it's a cool angle, I think. But anyway. Yeah,
That's what I don't know why that's what I remember of his whole WWF run is him saying
because that was his WWF run.
Only wrestler got 2 left feet.
It was funny.
When him and Jimmy Hart are walking around, they don't know if they're coming or they're going. It's like terrible jokes.
And it's because it's funny because it's his accent and all that, it's like it's a good fucking angle. Like this guy's fucking with Valentine and Valentine thinks he finally got rid of him. And now he can fuck with him even more than he could when he was working. Because now he's the ref. So that was good shit. I liked it.
Number 313 is Chaz Taylor, 6'1", 217, 5 years pro. Among the best up-and-coming newcomers in Texas independence. One-time global light heavyweight champion. Son of famed Texas wrestler Tugboat Taylor. High flyer with dynamic Chaz Tisser finish. I was a fan of Chaz back in the day because I liked global, and I was a fan of Chaz Taylor. I got to admit it.
Yeah,
he kind of fizzled out though. He never went anywhere past global.
And I remember, I don't know if it was MySpace or Facebook or something, but I was on some global page or something and wound up following him for a minute on social media, and then I had to stop because I was like, now this guy's a douchebag. He's a guy that does have delusion of grandeur.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like a douchebag, like he's like a racist douchebag or just a cocky douchebag or
cocky and I'm a movie star, and he's in some direct to DVD fucking shit movie, not being a shitty movie like Sharknado that knows it's being shitty.
Yeah.
But a crummier version of I don't know, say he's in Tremors 7.
Yeah.
It's on the set of Tremors 7. It's oh, sit down.
On the set of Tremors 7, the worm is turned. Stupid.
So it's good now? You turn face.
The worm's helping.
Oh, the first one's great.
It is. No, it is. That first Tremors movie's fantastic. After that, fuck them. They're no good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man.
That first one's a fun ride.
It is ridiculous.
And number 312 is Iceman, 6 foot 180, 1 year pro. This sensational newcomer was the Northern Championship Wrestling's Rookie of the Year in 1994, an excellent aerial artist who can also brawl with the best of them in NCW, a former tag team champion with Frank Blues, current NCW Intercity champion. Don't know ya. The only Iceman I know is King Parsons.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Who I'm a big fan of, and sucks that he never went to the WWF.
Yeah, I think he was a homesteader.
Yeah, I'm a mark for Iceman King Parsons. But anyway, we're not talking about him. 311. Tim Horner. 5'10", 235, 11 years pro. This incredibly quick competitor is still wrestling occasionally for WCW. When he isn't there, he's competing in the independent promotions in Tennessee. Won 2 different Southern Independent Tag Team titles in successive nights in 1995. Has extensive Japanese experience. Never liked Tim Horner.
Saying it. I don't like him. I hate saying it, but he wasn't a bad wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think he's boring, and obviously everything you hear about him, he was kind of a prick. And yeah, I'm not a fan of him, but I can't say oh, he was a shitty wrestler.
Yeah, no.
I just think he was boring. You know. It's kind of like Mike Rotunda. Like
Yeah,
I'll never sit here and say Mike Rotunda is not an exceptional wrestler. I just think he's boring.
I agree. I agree.
And his little lightning bolts and Smoky Mountain and his little foam fucking lightning thing. It's like, you're stupid. And then he fucking came out to Thunder Rolls. It's like, you know that song is about spousal abuse, right? Idiot.
Fucking idiot.
And then he sang Shameless
Yes. Oof.
on Smoky Mountain. And
It's
Rick
tough.
Rubin was like, and Jim Cornette said Rick Rubin was so offended. He's like, you think we should have trimmed it down to like 30 seconds? He's like, I don't think you should have shown it at all. As the producer and I'm putting money into this, I'm ashamed. I'm offended.
310. Tony Stetson, 5'10", 238, 10
Yeah.
years pro, competes in ECW and other Mid-Atlantic independents, has defeated former WWF World Champion Ivan Koloff, feuding with former tag team partner Larry Winters.
Yeah, I like nothing wrong with him.
Nope. We talked about Tony Stetson a lot.
Bully.
Yeah, we talked about him extensively in the early days, obviously, of Reliving the Extreme. So he was one of the earlier, I guess you'd say, ECW or real originals. And he was a good hand. And he was a good little shit heel, too.
Yeah, and he was always around, even though we haven't talked about him a lot because he was like a Hack Myers type guy or whatever, where he was on those arena shows or he'd be the guy traveling and
Yeah.
he'd be in that first match for Kaz to come out and choke everybody out, or whoever the beast guy was at the time,
Yep.
That was his gig.
Yeah, and like I said, can't say anything negative about the guy.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think he was another one of those guys that was kind of I guess you'd say, quote unquote, homesteader, because I don't ever remember seeing any results with him outside of like the East Coast or maybe into the Mid Atlantic area. But
and I don't even want to say it to sound negative, but I don't think he was like a I don't want to say it. I don't think he was like a homesteader just because I wanted to. He wasn't on like Vince McMahon or WCW's radar or anything. You know what I mean? Like he knew where he was gonna make his money, and obviously probably had another job and worked for Paulie on the weekends and other little East Coast areas or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I have no fault with guys like that. It was just something he wanted to do, and he did it, and
God bless him.
God bless him.
Number 309 is Timothy Well, 5'11", 240, 8 years pro, former tag team partner of Stephen Dunn in Well Done. Trying to climb the tag team ranks with various new partners, but not making much progress. He and Dunn had previously teamed to win the PNW, WWC, and USWA tag titles. Solid scientific skills, enjoyable to watch. I thought Well Done was a really good tag team that just came along during a time where business was crummy, I
was going to just say the same thing, that I think I had no problem with them, and I think Well Done was like, I don't want to say it. We were just talking about the Beverly Brothers, but they were kind of the Beverly Brothers of that little roster. Like they weren't ever going to be the tag champs, but if you needed somebody to have a good match with it, like if you needed a tag team to have a good match with any of the tag teams on your rosters, like, put those guys out there.
Yeah.
They're going to lose, but they're going to make the guys look good. And
yeah, that's what I was about to say. The kind of two things that I think hurt them were, again, they came around during the time where the business was the worst it had ever been, and they were made to job to the Bushwhackers way too much.
yeah. But then they got to have good matches with like the Smoking Guns and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they were the superstars jobber tag team, but they still did a good job. And Yeah, I got no problem with them.
Number 308 is Tom Zank, 6'2", 237, 11 years pro, currently wrestling in AWF in Japan and in Japan. Z-Man once held the WCW TV title and was Marcus Alexander Bagwell's tag team partner before Too Cold Scorpio. Extraordinary dropkick from top turnbuckle.
We have differing opinions on Tom Zank, but I like Tom Zank. I think he would have been a better. I think he would have been. I think he would have had a more successful career as a heel.
Well, yeah, because he could have been himself. Because from all intents and purposes, for all accounts I've ever heard, he was a douchebag.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: probably, if I have to pick a time where I am actually would say that my favorite Tom Zank is I like the tag team of Z-Man and Flying Brian. I do like those guys as a tag team.
Yeah. I liked him in that era too, and I just that early WCW Saturday night, even before he was teaming with Pillman, and after it or whatever, I liked the guy. I thought I was a big fan of him. Like I said, I just wish he would have been a heel at some point. Mm-hmm. I think he would have possibly had a different career.
I will not dispute that at all. I think you're onto something there. Number 307 is a guy I think we'll both be able to agree we don't like. It's Charlie Norris. 6'7", 290, 7 years pro. Chippewa Indian is currently competing in the AWF and several Minnesota independents. Idolized Wahoo McDaniel as a child. Favorite maneuver is a tomahawk chop. Had moderate success in WCW in 1993. So Chief J Strongbow, during his heyday, pulled off the fat Native American pretty well. Wahoo McDaniel pulled off the fat Native American really well. Charlie Norris was just a fat Native American. That guy was garbage in the ring. He might be a nice dude, but he fucking stunk, man. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, I don't like him. And the only thing ever entertaining about him was that I guess he was like a really nice guy, you know? But like anytime, like when I used to listen to Shivani's podcast, anytime like they'd bring up Charlie Norris, Shivani'd just be like, fucking asshole. I'd be like, what? I'd be like, yeah, Charlie Norris, just a son of a bitch.
He's being funny because the guy's nice.
Yeah, but Shivani's like fucking asshole, piece of shit. Like you should have heard the sexist things I heard this guy say. Like he just make up all this shit about Charlie Norris.
It's funny. All right, number 306 is Luna Vachon, 5'5", 150. The Queen of Extreme has found a home in the ultra-violent ECW, frequent tag team partner of Tommy Dreamer against male teams. Married to Vampire Warrior, started out in wrestling as Kevin Sullivan's valet, feuded with the Lunder Blaze in the WWF. The greatness of Luna Vachon cannot be denied.
Just say you can't say anything bad about Luna Vachon. Fucking awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like I know we should say Sherry's a badass, but she'd probably be second to Sherry. You know what I mean? Just in the fact of just badass woman. Like she was such a badass that WWF put her on the Raw game. Like she was the playable character to fight the dudes on on the Raw. Was it Raw? What did they call that game? Raw's War? I think they did.
Yes.
Yeah, she was on that game as a playable character.
I can remember the commercials because it had like that music. It was like damn, and then it showed like a big steak.
Yeah.
Raw.
Yeah.
Raw.
Yeah, and she was. And her and Bam Bam together was like a fantastic act. Mm-hmm. I know this is a different year, or like this is the end of that, but like those two being together work because they look like a biker. like a biker mama and her and her big daddy. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
worked.
And it was also funny that they're like these two.
main squeeze.
Yeah, they're like these two badass human beings, but he calls her his main squeeze. She's
Yeah,
my
that's what I'm saying.
main
It's
squeeze.
his biker mama, man. That's his sweet butt. That's his main squeeze.
Yeah, shit. And you know what? Rest in peace to both of them, because goddamn
Yep.
it. Number 305. Speaking of Bam Bam Bigelow, 305 is Lawrence Taylor, 6'3", 245. Former professional football player, stunned the wrestling world by defeating Bam Bam Bigelow at WrestleMania 11. Has not wrestled since, but there were rumors that several WWF managers were trying to get him under contract. Former All-Pro linebacker, is a future Hall of Famer in football, but probably not in wrestling.
He shouldn't be this high. He shouldn't even be on it. He had one match. I understand why, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're probably glad they never signed him after what, his real personal life and shit came out. But yeah, I mean, give the guy his due. I mean, he's a non-worker that went in there and actually
Had a pretty decent match.
had a pretty decent match and didn't how do I say, didn't like shit on the business after he was done with it. In that little short period of time he was there, he respected it,
Mm-hmm.
like at least he worked for it and trained and
it's also crazy. And I know I know all the stories. I know the behind the scenes machinations and the politics and everything. But 95 to 96 is insane because LT and Bam Bam Bigelow main event WrestleMania. And by the end of 95, Bam Bam jobs out to Goldust at Survivor Series and he is gone. It's wild, man. It's fucking wild. And again, I know the fucking clique and there was politics and all that shit involved. But it's crazy. Like if you watch 95, it's just like this guy's at like the top of the company. And then, he comes out of WrestleMania and does that split with DiBiase. And he's like the number 3 baby face behind Nash and Michaels. And then, he doesn't even make it to the end of the year. It's crazy.
Yeah. If they would have flipped that shit, it probably would have never even happened to him either.
Mm-hmm.
That was all it was Shawn and Diesel being butthurt because they were at the last match on the show.
Yeah.
It's like, settle the fuck down.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's like you're still probably making more than those two. Well, you didn't make more than LT.
Right.
But you probably they probably made more than Bam Bam.
I'm sure they did.
Assume.
And Kevin Nash, excuse me, not only did Kevin Nash get champion's pay, but Kevin Nash got paid being part of LT and Bam Bam because he's the one that worked out with LT during getting him ready.
Yeah. So it's like, just shut the fuck up and just take your paycheck.
Back then, they couldn't do it.
Yeah. And that's the difference, I think, like, when we talk about, like, because I know Hunter was in the clique and everything, too. And they say, oh, well, whatever. He understood, too, because he didn't want to wrestle. He didn't want a main event. If everything's right, if everything I've ever heard is right, Hunter didn't want a main event WrestleMania 18. Like, him and Jericho were, like, against it.
Yeah.
Like, we should not be going on last.
Yeah, I've always heard that, too.
Like you're going to put us on after Hogan and Rock. It's going to...
Right.
It's not going to work. I mean, that's the difference, but...
I mean, and you know what? People can say what... we're not talking about Hunter right now. Well, we'll get into
Okay.
We'll get into it another time. Maybe he might come up in this 500. We'll talk about him then.
Maybe. I'm sure he will.
304 is Mohammed Hussein, 5'11", 260, 11 years pro. WWC rule breaker, notorious for throwing fireballs. Has been a tag team champion with several different partners in the federation. Has competed in Memphis, WCW, ICW, and in Japan.
I don't know him.
Me neither. 303, Sergeant Slaughter, 6'3", 310, 18 years pro. The former drill instructor is now competing in the AWF, Former WWF World Champion turned his back on his country during the Persian Gulf War, has switched loyalties many times during career. Glad to be on the side of the fans again. That ill-fated AWF. Somewhere, I don't know where, I cannot find it the last time I went through my DVDs because I was going to get it out and try to watch it. I have the AWF, the entire run fits in a DVD set of that entire promotion. I have it
Yeah.
somewhere. I can't find it. But anyway,
I think I got the same thing somewhere. I think it was just it was a ill-fated thing that a lot of fly by night people were trying to do, but the whole round system thing was dumb. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's not what American wrestling fans want to see.
Not only that, but with these, and I understand wanting to use stars. I get it. But what it came off of like, because you had, you had your former WWF guys, like your Tito Santanas, your Bob Ortons, Sergeant Slaughter. It came off like an independent show with good lighting.
Yeah.
And again, I understand wanting to use stars, but when your whole roster is just a bunch of guys that were on WWF TV a couple of years ago, you come off like, I don't know, like AEW now. You know what I mean?
And it was dumb. I don't want to say dumb, but I just think the round system was wonky and
Hmm.
it looked like too pre-produced.
Yeah.
It's like, this looks like and it technically kind of was an infomercial because they were trying to sell it to networks,
Hmm.
but it didn't work.
Number 302 is Dream Killer. 6'1", 284 years pro, the most dangerous and sadistic man in the Northern Championship Wrestling. As Quebec heavyweight champion, he went undefeated for more than 18 months before losing to Frank Blues, a former NCW Tag Team Champion with Black Bear.
Dream Killer and Black Bear,
Dream Killer and Black Bear.
whatever.
301 is Silver King. 5'11",
Yay!
221, 10 years pro. Mexican star, is the son of former wrestler Dr. Wagner, recognized as one of the best wrestlers in Mexico's EMLL promotion, former UAW Tag Team Champion. Silver King, fucking awesome.
I like Silver King.
Me too.
Um, I, I just he al- he and this is gonna sound funny, but he always just seemed so happy. Like
Mm-hmm.
when he was in WCW or whatever. Like even when he was a heel, he was happy.
Yeah, it seemed like a guy.
And
He seemed like a guy you'd want to hang out. Like
yeah,
it'd be fun to hang out with Silver King.
yeah, and he was a good worker. I enjoyed him. Um, and I mean he died too early, and it's just I like Silver King.
Me too. He is.
I don't know what else to say about it, but like,
I don't count. I hate to say it because I know he was one of them. I don't think when I think of the luchadors in WCW, I don't think of Rey Mysterio. I think of Rey Mysterio as like one of the not like one of the main guy. You know what I mean?
he wasn't a he was a luchador, but he was a WCW guy that wrestled luchadors. It's kind of like Eddie,
So
you know.
that's what I was saying. Other than Eddie and Ray, we're gonna take them out of the mix. In the cast of ECW luchadors, or sorry, in the cast of luchadors from WCW during the Monday Night Wars, honestly, my two favorites are La Parca and Silver King.
Yeah, Silver King's in my top like five guys or whatever. But yeah, like I'd say like if you take obviously Conan, I'd take Chavo out of it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd take Eddie, and then I'd take Ray. But Silver King's in my list of like my favorite guys. Like I liked Silver King, I liked Hector, They didn't use him as much as I like, but I like Lismark Jr. for some reason.
Mhm.
I just like that guy. And um, Damien. Those are like my dudes.
300 is Tyrone Knox. 6'1", 253 years pro. This young PWF wrestler loves to use the flying headbutt. Trained for pro career by Gary Royal, has wrestled at WWF TV tapings. Promised fans he would soon be a champion if they would continue to support him. Gary Royal
And they
was like,
didn't.
yeah, Gary Royal was like, the wrist lock. That's what you want to use. It's electrifying. Use the wrist lock.
Get yourself a
If you can get yourself a Bob Cottle, Gary Royal.
Get yourself some dark green trunks.
You got to find your own Denny Brown, my friend. You got to find that rival. You got to find your Denny Brown.
It's like, should I get like some I don't know, like some orange tights? Something? Nope. You either got to go green, red, or blue. That's it.
Nothing on them. But
Nothing on them.
Just has to look like you're in your underwear.
It'd be a star that way. Green, red, blue. That's it. What about Black Sun? They're gonna think you're a heel if you wear black, green, red, or blue.
And remember, wrist lock. Number 299 is Moondog Spot. 6'2", 298, 19 years pro. One of the original members of the Moondogs, wrestling semi-regularly again in the USWA, has been with the team since 1978. Has been known to spread good cheer amongst the kids in hospitals. Enjoys chewing on dog bones, still going somehow. You know what's funny about the Moondogs? I am not a fan, and I'm talking about the original Moondogs. I'm not a big fan of the Moondogs in the WWF or the WWF. Not a big fan, just not. But you put those motherfuckers in Memphis and let them fucking tear shit down, they're fucking awesome. I'm talking about the originals. I'm not talking about any of the clones. I'm talking about the originals.
And the fans liked them, and yeah, it's just I don't know what I was watching Smoky Mountain the other day, and it's like that state is its own thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if there's any other state in wrestling where you can be like, that's its own thing. Like, there's certain acts that if you took them out of there, no.
Yeah.
But when you watch them in there, you're still like, this is fucking great. Here,
Texas.
it's awesome.
Texas.
Yeah.
Tennessee and Texas.
Yeah, I'll give you but Tennessee to me is even more so because it's like there's still like all these guys that came out of Texas that were still big stars, but a lot like some of these guys that if you took them out of Tennessee, they wouldn't work.
The Green
I don't
Machine.
know. Yeah, you take that fucking slob out of Tennessee, it ain't gonna fucking work. They try to take Ronnie P. Gossett out of there, and that shit got backfired. That shit backfired.
Watch him waddle around with Jeff Jarrett. 298, the new Tiger Mask. 5'10", 235 years pro. Another man now assumes the mask and genre of the most popular Japanese wrestler ever to compete in Mexico. Hopes to be as influential as his predecessor. Great collection of colorful masks and outfits.
Yeah, great gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of the things that Japan could do. I didn't do it with a lot of people, but I'm saying that Tiger Mask gimmick, so you can keep giving it to newer guys, and it's fine, you know.
So 95. Let me see. 95. Okay, so 90 the The Tiger Mask from '95 was Yoshihiro Yamazaki, and that was the guy that had it for like almost until I had to go back and look because there's been what 5? Yeah, the 5 of them. So I had to go back because I couldn't remember which one this was, but yeah.
Yeah. And I know we're not talking about modern stuff, but I can't tell you like the history of every guy that held the tiger mask thing or whatever. But trying to put it in modern perspective, I really think, and I said this to a buddy of mine that's a wrestling fan too. I really think they're gonna do that with that Dragon Lee guy.
With Ray.
Yep. I don't think they're gonna put that mask on Dominic at all.
No.
I think that Dragon Lee dude, he's gonna be like the third Rey Mysterio.
I would agree with you. Because I don't think the reason I don't think they're going to put it on. I think originally
They were gonna do it.
they were
with
going to do
Dom.
it, but Dom has
Ain't gonna work.
become his own thing now.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. And it's funny that you were talking to somebody at work about. I was talking to somebody about work about Rey Mysterio and Dominic, and I said, I guarantee you, because they've done so good with the whole feud between the two of them and the rivalry between the two of them, and even like now they're doing their own thing. They're not associated. One of the hottest angles in modern wrestling is going to be when Dom at some point saves his father from something.
Oh yeah.
Like that's going to be a hot angle when it finally happens.
And it's gonna be a big deal. But yeah, I think that Dragon Lee dude is gonna be I think he's gonna get the Rey Mysterio gimmick and go on with it.
All right, number 297 is Mike Davis, 5'11", 235, 18 years pro, Maniac. Was a former global mainstay, but is now competing in several Texas independents. Still has superb foot speed. Founder of the Rock and Roll RPMs.
Wasn't he the Viper? He become the
Yes.
Viper.
Yes.
Yeah, don't hiss me off.
And they called him the Viper because he was built like Jake Roberts and had a mustache.
Yeah, I remember like some scene where he was like hiding underneath a desk or whatever. And he's like, "Don't hiss me off." I'm like, "What is going on?" But yeah, I remember that guy.
296 is Nico Zuna. 6 foot, 335, 12 years pro, hails from Samoa, as does his cousin Yokozuna, formerly known as the Tonga Kid, the Samoan Savage, now a member of the Samoan SWAT team. Although his weight has increased over the past few years, he still executes maneuvers from the top rope, currently competing in Japan and AWF. I did not know that he did a Yokozuna type gimmick called Nikozuna. I never knew that.
That's why I didn't either. That's why I was like, yeah, right. But I'm like, oh no, really?
Never knew that. And learned something new today.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna be mad at it because I guarantee you probably asked Yokozuna, "You care if I be Nikozuna?" And Yoko is probably gonna make your money, brother. Do what you gotta do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I ain't gonna fault you. Like at first I thought it was gonna be some fake guy.
Like the new one-man gang. Yeah.
Yeah, like the new one-man gang. I might need the shit kicked out of him. Did you see that video I sent about Alpha Jr.?
Yes.
He just shit out of that one guy. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it, but yeah. He's like, okay.
Number 295 is Moadib. 6'4", 306. This mysterious man from the desert of northeastern Africa was discovered by General Skandor Akbar. Tough rule breakers.
Bathing nude in a
competing in the LSWA. Formerly wrestled in Global, where he was a merciless rule breaker. For those of you that don't know, Moadib is the future Ahmed Johnson, And you just said bathing naked in a waterfall. I was going to say bathing naked in a waterfall, speaking unintelligibly.
Oh, dang. What?
Is Ahmed Johnson, and I'm not talking about people like Jeff Farmer. I'm talking about like main event top level wrestlers. Is Ahmed Johnson like the worst top level wrestler promo ever? Because I mean, El Gigante, I can forgive. The man didn't
Oh yeah,
speak
he didn't know
good
the English.
English.
He didn't know English. I'd say he's in the top 3. It's like him and like Beefcake and Warrior. Probably
Yeah,
the
but at
worst.
least Warrior's insanity is entertaining. Let me tell you, I like it when a Warrior would try to be intense, like especially like leading up to WrestleMania 6. Let me tell you something, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. I mean, it was fucking horrible though.
But at least it's funny. Like at least I can laugh. I'm gonna tell you about the Warriors.
Do you know why his is funny? Because he didn't
Blood
think it was
pumping through
funny.
the veins.
The pumping through the veins, run you over with the lawnmower. Like his is funny because he wasn't being funny.
one of my
He thought it
favorite
was good.
One of my favorite things on a WWE DVD is when Christian and Edge are doing the
Oh, it's mainly Christian.
yeah, Hulk.
I'm gonna put you in
Hulk.
the rocket ship. Rocket ship.
Hulk.
Hulk. Hogan.
Hogan.
I mean, he's one of my favorite dudes, man.
Yeah.
This is a funny dude. Like
Yeah.
Christian's fucking funny, man. And you can tell, like, I know they're all wrestling fans, but you can tell he's like a wrestling fan, kind of like us,
Yeah.
where he knows that shit's funny, you know?
Hulk. Hogan.
Hulk, Hogan. Yeah, but it's like, so I guess you're kind of right, but I'm just saying it's just shitty promos. Like, he'd be right up there with those two. It's just the fucking worst. And he was totally a look. That's all he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think how we were kind of said, like how I kind of said, like well done was like the Beverly Brothers of their locker room or whatever. And I know this is like a completely different thing, but I think I think a good comparison could be that Ahmed Johnson was the Ultimate Warrior of his locker room.
I agree.
He got hired because of a look. He sucked. He didn't get along with anybody because nobody got along with him.
No, I mean
He thought he was much better than he was.
Mick Foley said, I ain't jobbing to no bitch. Like, Jesus, man.
Yeah, and I just don't like the. I was never a fan. Even as a kid, I was like, this guy sucks.
And guess what, Ahmed? Mick Foley let China beat him up and took it to the fucking bank.
Yeah. You didn't let some bitch beat you up, and Farouk kicked your ass for like a year, and then you left.
Number 294.
Can you imagine being Farouk for like Ron Simmons for like years, being like, "I'm not coming in. I'm not going to the WWF." And then you finally like, "Fine, I'll go. I'll get there." And the first guy you get assigned to is fucking Ahmed Johnson. And you're like,
And then
"Oh
it
my
lasts,
god!"
and then you feud with him
It lasts
forever.
forever because you keep fucking each other up. He's doing it accidentally, and you're doing it because you're pissed off. Anyway.
I have to do this when I announce this person. Number 294, Vampiro Candice. It's Vampiro.
Get my fucking music. Sums
six,
up that guy's career.
6'3", 235, 6 years pro. This Thunder Bay, Ontario native is now competing all over the world, has long braided hair and plenty of tattoos, and the women seem to love that. Former UAW heavyweight champion. I never got Vampiro. I never got why any promoter. I don't know. I mean, I know he had that, like him and Conan had like, they were like Savage and Hogan in Mexico for a minute. Somehow he was over, but I just never saw it. Never saw it.
Me neither. I don't. Oops, I hit the wrong thing.
It's
I, I was trying to find the video of him farting, but no, the guy sucked, and like I don't know, like it wasn't even like a thing where it's like you got a cool gimmick, so it's okay that you're not like the greatest worker in the world. You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like your gimmick sucks, and you suck, and I don't know. I know probably in Mexico he looked different, and they like that type of character down there or whatever. Just I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I don't get it, and I never did. And yeah, he
He tried to
just
say Conan. He tried to say Conan took those soap operas away from him. Like, oh, Conan stole my star and stardom and took those soap operas away from. Like that's what he told people. It's
yeah.
like Conan. And Conan's like the dude couldn't speak Spanish.
Right.
Like, how's he gonna be in the show? You don't speak the language, you fucking idiot.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, and then like Jericho said, like this guy said he like played. I'm not a hockey guy, so I can't remember some of the names, but he said he like played hockey with like this guy or that guy, and then was on this team. And Jericho said that like he's a hockey guy, so if you looked at what this guy was saying, that meant he was playing hockey on this team when he was like 14. So he just shut. Like nobody liked the guy. Yeah, Conan undermined me and took roles for me on these soap operas. You don't speak Spanish. That's like my favorite one. Like, you're a
Fucking
fucking
idiot.
idiot. Anyway,
Number 293 is Jesse Barr, 6', 243, 14 years pro, son of Sandy Barr, though he previously used the name Jimmy Jack Funk, famed for his bulldog headlock, well regarded throughout the Pacific Northwest, where he occasionally wrestles.
um,
I'll tell you something
I
that's
think
wild.
what's that?
Something that's really wild. In 1986, one of the wildest groups of human beings ever put together in wrestling
It was Hoss
is
Hunt, Jimmy
Jimmy
Hart,
Hart,
Terry Funk.
not Terry. Terry was gone. No, Jimmy Hart, Dory Funk Jr., Jesse Barr, and Adrian Adonis.
Yeah, right. Terry had left,
His horse
but
was sick.
yeah, his horse was sick. But
Yeah.
it was a crazy group, and Jimmy Jack Funk he wasn't terrible.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? Or Jesse Barr, he wasn't terrible. I just think he got kind of a raw deal with that gimmick. But it got him a WWE paycheck for what, like 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good
I
for
mean,
him.
yeah, what, the 80, he came in at 86 because they needed a replacement for Terry because Terry's horse was sick and he went home. And even after Dory left, I mean,
Yeah, he was still
he still at least got to like do jobs and stuff.
yeah. Like I said, he wasn't terrible.
292 is Bobo Brazil Jr., 6'1", 277, 18 years pro, has wrestled extensively throughout North America and Japan, held titles in Pro Wrestling International, MWA, MTW, and Japan, calls his headbutt the Cocoa Butt, native of Benton Harbor, Michigan, currently competing for Michigan-based MTW. I got to tell you, folks, Aaron and I are from Ohio. We grew up in the Ohio, Michigan, Indiana triangle. And there's almost nothing, I don't want to say worse. But man, Bobo Brazil and Dick the Bruiser Jr., it's tough stuff.
That's some bad wrestling.
It's tough stuff, buddy.
That's some bad wrestling.
God bless you, Dave Dynasty. I know Dave Dynasty talks about the WWA all the time and the history of it, and he even gets into
the
some
old
of that.
wrestling's fine. Their supposed offspring is terrible, and like I know Dick the Bruiser Jr. was not technically his son. Wasn't like his son-in-law or something.
I think it was like the Garvin thing where it was his son-in-law.
Yeah, but I don't even know if Bobo Brazil Jr. was even Bobo Brazil's like anything. I don't know.
Honestly, I'd have to ask Dave. I don't know.
But it is bad stuff.
It really is. And God bless him for trying to keep the territory alive or whatever. But buddy, that's some tough stuff to watch.
This is some tough Scrabble that you're going on here, man. Remember that shit we went and watched in Convoy?
Yes.
If it wasn't for that dancing guy dressed like a pimp and that one dude, that one guy when Tracy Brooks is like, "What are you looking at?" and he went, "Yabos." That would have been a fucking bust. That would have been a terrible experience.
I also think it's funny that you said Yabos and then that would have been a bust.
Yeah.
Made me think of Naked Gun. What is this? Some kind of bust?
Some kind of bust? Yes. It's very impressive.
It's very impressive.
I'm not here to talk to you about that. He was been hanging out at one of those all night wicker stores.
Oh shit. Fucking love
it's a Caucasian with a mustache. Yeah, he's still like 6'3". It's a big mustache. 6'3". That's a big mustache. I rephrased it. That was fucking movies.
That's fucking love it. Yeah, absolutely.
You see, they're making another. They're gonna make some more scary movies.
Yes, I did see that.
And the Wayans brothers got it back. I'm looking forward to that shit.
I heard they were doing another Naked Gun with Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I don't know.
Doing maybe. I mean, if he can deliver, you know. I mean,
well, I'm not worried about Liam Neeson because Liam Neeson's funny. I'm worried about it. Like, I don't know. I know the movies are never like. They were never like super offensive or whatever, but I just don't want them to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, don't have kid gloves on.
Too like, yeah, I want it to be funny.
Number 291 is Mark Ash, 6'1", 205, 6 years pro, current ICW champion, has defended the title all over the United States during the past year, involved in many title versus title matches with AIWA champion Alex Knight, former co-holder of the ICW tag team title with George South, recently beat the Iranian Butcher in a vicious retirement match in North Carolina.
I don't know. I remember seeing the name, but I don't know anything about the guy.
Number 290, Ryuma Go, 6 foot, 255, 24 years pro. Atsugi, Japan native, has done well in the Pacific Northwest Indies. Physical competitor whose favorite hold is the Japanese facelock, likes six-man tag matches, incredibly popular cult figure, claims he has feuded with space aliens and is thus an interplanetary champion.
All right, buddy.
Lots of mercury in that fish over in Japan. 289 is Iron Mike Sampson, 5'11", 246, 8 years pro. In the second year of reign as the Windy City Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, has also held the league, middleweight, and tag titles. Very muscular and extremely strong. Relies too much on manager Vinny Carbone. Iron Mike Sampson, one of those names I know from magazines, but I don't know if I've ever watched him wrestle.
I have not.
288, one of the guys that I probably watched wrestle most in my life because he was all over. Barry Horowitz, 5'10", 227, 16 years pro. The winner recently pinned Body Donna Skip on WWF TV and held him in a 10-minute time limit draw in a rematch. Veteran competitor, twice won the global light heavyweight title. Nevertheless, has accomplished very little in WCW and the WWF. Also competes in independence. Barry Horowitz is one of those guys that should be in the Hall of Fame.
I think he's gonna be. I really do. I think you're gonna see a lot of different stuff now that somebody else is in charge of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna start seeing guys like that being included in it, and not just in a like a how do I say, like in like a, oh, we're just gonna lump them in with some stuff.
I actually
You know what
don't.
I mean?
I actually don't foresee Hunter even doing that anymore.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's gonna be a lot more. It's not gonna be. How do I say it? Like they're still gonna have to do something if they want to get like a rating, like a TV viewership or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, hey, Raven Simone or whatever was at WrestleMania once, so we're gonna put her in.
Right.
You know, I don't think it's gonna be like that. And
when
there,
you're
and obviously, oh, go ahead, sorry.
when you're considering people for the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, which, like you said, I totally understand from a marketing perspective. It's a fucking business, okay?
Yeah.
But what I think you should consider when you're thinking people for the celebrity wing is people that went in and played a part, and like we were talking about with LT or whatever, or say Pete Rose went in, played a
Yeah,
part,
Bob Euchre.
embraced it, and looked like they enjoyed it, contributed something. And I'm getting to a point here. Do you know who I think should be in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame?
Who's that?
Kevin Federline.
Oh yeah, put him in. I would have no problem with it.
That dude was fucking that. His shit with Cena. That was fun, man.
Yeah. If he would have got hit with them divorce papers, I think he would have kept going as long as he could have. And I would have no problem with it, you know. And I don't even think it needs to be necessarily like a big, I shouldn't say big run, but like a multiple thing like that either.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if I turned on the TV right now and I know I mentioned Bob Euchre and they said, hey, Vanna White's getting put in the WWE Hall of Fame, I'd be like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like she did a good job at WrestleMania or whatever, and like I think she took it serious, you know.
Bob Euchre's like
But
some guy named Vance White.
yeah, like I just think it was all right, you know. But like I don't know, with Vince it was stupid shit. Like Kid Rock. Like I'm not even mad. Like I'm not mad that Snoop Dogg got put in
Mm-hmm.
because Snoop Dogg's a fan. He's always when he's around. He has a good time. He doesn't disrespect the business. He's respectful to the guys
Mm-hmm.
and gals. You know, like I'm fine with that. But I really do think that like guys like Barry Horowitz are gonna start getting their, or like guys like Savio Vega. Those, not saying Savio Vega and Barry Horowitz or whatever, but I'm just saying I think those guys are gonna start getting their love. You know.
Mm-hmm. Getting their recognition. Yeah.
Yeah.
287 is Tony Roy, 6'2", 235, 6 years pro. Montreal native, is currently the IWF champion and has held the belt for more than 1 year. Defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley, then Tara Rison, in a tournament final to win the belt. Has had an excellent drop kick. I just remember Tony Roy jobbing on early editions of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, it's a goofy looking bastard. He had one of them like skullets.
Yeah.
He had like a skullet and a soul patch. It's like, what are you doing? One of those has to go, or you're never gonna get signed.
Make a pick. Take a pick, man.
Make a fit.
286, Lou Marconi. I always read his name Macaroni, but it's Lou Marconi, 5'11", 230, 3 years pro, co-holder of the Steel City Wrestling Tag Team titles with Black Cat, has taken the SCW heavyweight champ T. Ranchula to the limit several times. Also a former ASWA tag champion. Fans have nicknamed him Beef Stew. We're still not sure why.
I don't know why either.
285.
Why even mention it? You don't know the answer.
285 is King Kalua. 5'10", 245, 11 years pro, East Coast veteran, is originally from Hawaii. Former Pacific champion, is known as a wrestler who's not afraid to break the rules. Recently changed training regimen to increase speed and agility. I wish the WWE Network still had the ECW pilot episode. I guess Peacock. When they switched over from Peacock or from the network to Peacock, they got rid of all that Volt shit. And they actually had the original ECW pilot on there. I don't know if you ever watched it.
I did. They have an actual YouTube page though.
Yes, I know. Actually, I was going to mention
be
that.
On there.
I was going to mention that if you go on the WWE Vault YouTube page today, I don't know if they posted it today, but I saw it today, just so you know. There's actually 2 minutes, like 2.5 minutes, and it's worth every second of it. They actually have 2.5 minutes that they posted on the WWE Vault of behind the scenes with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan.
I'd have to watch that.
It's amazing. But yeah, anyway, the reason I was saying that, folks, was King Kalua was actually featured like heavily on the original ECW pilot episode that they.
And I've different shoot interviews and stuff I've heard of other guys or whatever. Everything I've heard, that dude was funny. Had like a really good sense of. I said was like I don't think he's dead, but like had a really good sense of humor and was just a good all around guy and everything like that. So, like Steve Carino has some good stories about him.
Number 284 is Kendo Nagasaki, 6'2", 250, 24 years pro, veteran brawler in NOW promotion, seeking a match with Hickson Gracie. Has a reputation as a mean-spirited brawler, only slightly past his prime at this point, competed all around the world a decade ago, once managed by J.J. Dillon.
So this is the Japanese Kendo Nagasaki, I'm assuming then.
Yes. I assume this is also probably the Kendo Nagasaki that was Dragon Master in WCW.
Yeah.
Which
I like the British Kendo Nagasaki better.
The Kendo, it's funny, that Dragon Master gimmick was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like the Yakuza kind of thing, and how he walked to the ring backwards. And I don't know, it's just fucking weird and kind of cool, especially for WCW at that time. 283, we talked about him a little bit earlier when we talked about his tag partner, but 283 is Mike Enos, 6'4", 252, 7 years pro, known as Blake Beverly when he wrestled stateside. More of a rule breaker than Brother Bo, Wayne Bloom. Currently competing almost exclusively in Japan. Has somewhat disappointing tenure in the WWF a few years back. Former AWA World Tag Team Champion. If you listen to the show, you know how big a fan of Mike Enos Aaron is.
Yes. I like it. I know it's ridiculous, but I like the guy.
Oh no, I do too. I just think you're more of a fan than I am. And I not that I'm not a fan, but I just know you're a bigger fan of his than I am. So
yeah, and it's kind of like I'm never gonna say like, oh, Mike Enos should have been like, the world champion and he was whatever. He was just a one of those mid card guys or lower card guys or whatever that just stuck with me. And I'm like, I like this dude. He's cool, and like to me, he looked cool. He looked like a wrestler. I like the guy, It's kind of like I don't know. trying to think of another guy that would be like that, like Hercules. You know, it's
Mhm.
like I don't ever. I've never been like, man, Hercules should have been Intercontinental Champion or whatever. It's like, but I still liked Hercules. You know what I mean?
Kind of like me with Savio.
Yeah, or Warlord.
Hmm. I
I
think
think
me and Batista are the two biggest warlord marks on the planet.
yeah, Batista. Like, who's your favorite wrestler of all time? Warlord. What?
And when he said that, I was like, all right. Because I fucking love the warlord, man. That dude look cool as fuck. It's funny because if anybody that's ever seen it on our WNR podcast network or heard me talk about him before, I know a guy named Brian Davis who does he like if I need a season of something or whatever, which to be honest, you have to watch it on your computer, but I have a hard drive that like I'll be like, hey Brian, I want WWF superstars from 1990 the whole year, and I can pay him a little money for it, and he'll send it to me, and I can download it to my computer. So Brian's Video Vault, check him out, awesome dude. But anyway, I recently got that from him. Because they don't have them on the network. I got the whole run of 90 superstars and the whole run of 91 superstars, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's an episode where it's the episode where Fuji sells the contracts. He sells Barbarian to Bobby Heenan, and he sells Warlord to Slick. And I didn't remember this because I hadn't seen it in so long. And all you ever see once Warlord is with Slick, you see him come out at WrestleMania or whatever, and there's no music. It's really funny the first 2 weeks he's with Slick because he's still got the hair. He's still got the makeup. He hasn't gone to the mask yet.
He's coming out to Jive Soul Bro.
And he comes out to Jive Soul Bro. And it's actually really funny because he's so intense. You know what I mean? Like he's so big and intense. He's got like his furry boots and shit on. It's like Jive Soul Bro.
To me, it's funny. It's funny when anybody other than him and the Twin Towers come out to it. Like it's even funny when him and Rick Martel come out to it.
Even funnier
And
when
Rick Martel dances with him.
when Rick Martel dances with him, yeah.
And you can tell Rick Martel knew that shit was funny.
Yeah, because he gets into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, number 282. We got time for a couple more. Number 282.
Yeah.
A guy that I did not appreciate back in the day, but I do now as I've seen more of his work, gone back and watched more of his work. Number 282 is Surfer Ray Odyssey. 5'10", 225, 9 years pro, San Diego native, carries surfboard into the ring, currently in several mid-Atlantic independents, including WWA and IWCCW, a three-time former IWCCW light heavyweight champion, has beaten several larger opponents. You look at Ray Odyssey and you see that gimmick and you think, well, this is going to be stupid. And then he gets in the ring and he's a fucking fire plug, man. That dude could fucking work.
Yeah. Was he on? No, I think I'm thinking of somebody else. Never mind. I was thinking of somebody else.
Was he on what?
Nothing. I thought of some. I was thinking of somebody else. It's not a big deal.
Okay. 281, Joe Savoldi. 6'2", 220, 15 years pro, has been respected along the Eastern Independent Circuit for years. A career scientific wrestler, son of former NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion Angelo Savoldi, former IWCCW Light Heavyweight Champion. I mean, say what you want about Joe Savoldi. Say what you want about the Savoldis. They were institutions on the East Coast in pro wrestling for a long time.
They found their little niche and they didn't try to get bigger than it. So good for them.
280, Headhunter 2, 5'11", 393 years pro. Moonsault is his signature move. Brawler who occasionally goes to the air, usually comes up with a game plan for the team, willing to inflict punishment without worrying about the consequences.
If he's the team captain, why is he number 2? Why is he coming up with the plans? You think he'd be like, you know what? I'm putting in all the thought and the work here. I'm number 1.
It's funny because the Headhunters, like, they're kind of like, to me, when I was younger, they're like Abby. Like, I don't know how I didn't know how good they were or how bad they were, but they were fucking interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
Like
only way I'd say
they
they're
interested me.
the only way I'd say they're different than Abby is Abby. This is gonna sound funny, but like Abby knew psychology in somewhat, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And knew what not to do and what to do and when to do it, you know?
Yeah.
For those guys, it's like the first time you see them, they hit that moonsault. It's like, now
Right.
what else is there to see now?
Right. Well,
Like you
yeah, and
see what
I
you
I
can do.
agree. I agree. And I was kind of talking about from a younger me perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember younger me seeing Abdullah the Butcher on TV, and this big fat guy is just walking around. He's not really doing anything, but you can't look away. It's fucking fascinating. Like, he was
Yeah.
so good. And then these guys were like that too. Like, when I saw them, I was like, well, I don't know if they're any good or not, but they definitely got my fucking attention.
But the thing is they weren't good.
No, they weren't. They absolutely weren't. Um, but sometimes, like we were talking about with Warrior earlier, sometimes it's a unique look or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
They're like I don't know. And I'm not even saying they were even remotely as good at what they did as Abby was, because Abby, people can say what they want about Abdullah the Butcher. He was 100% great at what he did, at his brand. There's
Yeah.
nobody that will ever be like Abdullah the Butcher again, ever. Those guys just look like two
Totally agree.
little fat Abdullah the Butcher sons. 279, Rock Stevens. 6'4", 270, 4 years pro. Punisher is the current Motor City Wrestling heavyweight champion. Won the title from Irish Mickey Doyle on July 4th, 1993. Trained by Brad Riggins, native of Minnesota. I don't know you.
I don't know them either.
278, Action Jackson, 6'2", 300 pounds, 11 years pro, native of Texarkana, Arkansas, is a top contender in Lone Star Wrestling, has held tag team belts in Mid-South and NAWA, and is a former NAWA heavyweight champion, wrestled throughout the South and Puerto Rico, huge favorite in Texas. He was one of those guys that Bill Watts brought in late in Mid-South and tried to make him the JYD. He's black, it'll work.
Yeah, he's a big black guy. Let's see what happens.
Let's see here. 277, El Mascarado, 5'10", 238, 7 years pro, current CWA light heavyweight champion, a native of Cedre, Puerto Rico, disciple of Mil Mascaras, wears many colorful masks to the ring. Fan favorite, is smart and quick. And if he's a protege of Mil Mascaras, he'll learn how to suck his gut in very soon.
Yes. Had the same 4 moves over and over again. Suck. I hate Mel Mascaras.
yeah. I always say, like, Mil Mascaras is one of those guys that probably you had to live in the moment, in his time, in his country. You can't deny his stardom, but I don't get it. Like, I don't see how. I don't know. He wasn't that good. There were so many wrestlers that were even in Mexico, that were better than him. But the Ultimate Warrior is the example again. Sometimes that doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a business at the end of the day. All right. And we'll do 2 more here. 276 is Flaming Youth. 5'11", 234 years pro, one of the top wrestlers in the PWF, has held the junior heavyweight title on several occasions. Also a former PWF tag champion, enthusiastic fan favorite. the way that the magazines presented this dude back in the day,
He was like the next big thing. Like this guy is going to be
yes,
the
I
second coming
absolutely.
of, like the second coming of the 1-2-3 Kid. This flaming youth is going to be the biggest thing, and he fucking did nothing.
Turned out he was a fizzling out youth. But yeah,
Yes.
I remember, back in the day, reading the magazines, thinking, "Oh, this must be the next guy that's coming into WWF or WCW, and he's gonna be a big star." Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing. Works at Kinko's.
I was once the flaming youth. Say what now?
Just copy my shit, man.
And we will round out with 275, Sumito. 6'3", 288, 4 years pro. Samoan continues to make steady progress in the Pacific Northwest. Tenacious competitor with an excellent headbutt. Has also wrestled in Japan, can bench press more than 500 pounds.
Don't know him.
Me neither. But he is going to be the last name that we have this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, because we've gone almost our 90 minutes. My bladder is full, and it's time to end the show. So next week we'll pick up at 274. We're almost halfway there through the PWI 500 from 1995. Stay tuned to the show in the coming weeks, as I am this week sending out the ballot for the PWI for the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Fame for 2024. I'll be sending that ballot out to our panelists in the next day or two, and then next week, I already did it on Reliving the Extreme. If you haven't listened, go ahead and listen to Reliving the Extreme from last week. Ran down the ballot and everything, but I'll do that again next week here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. That's coming up, and so much more. We're gonna do Taboo Tuesday, Cyber Sunday, right? For the how it started and how it ended.
Yes, Taboo Tuesday,
as Jerry Lawler would say. That being said, all of that being said, Aaron, do you have anything to say before we sign off?
No, just like I said, thanks for listening. Rate, review. We're getting some views on our YouTube page, so thanks for that. And just keep on listening and tell your friends.
Yes, definitely listen on YouTube if that's the way you like to consume your content. They made it, our YouTube made it very easy for me, along with our provider that I subscribe to, Red Circle, to produce our show. Made it very easy for me to get the shows on YouTube, so it's much more consistent now, literally more consistent now, because every episode goes up as soon as it does on the podcast apps. So check it out on YouTube if you want. If you don't, check it out wherever you listen to your podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you consume your podcast content. We are there, and we'll see you next week around as we continue our journey through the PWI 500 from 1995. Have a great weekend.